same talents, all the same trinket choices. There are no excuses. Whoever plays better, like Zico said, this is all going to be about the tempo of these teams.
Yeah, it really is. And one of the things that we've really noticed in the online competitions is that Radapai's playstyle, that very aggressive, you can see him crossing the map right now, has worked super well for these guys, right? Rockets Esports came first on the points last year. They're looking strong this year as well, but Raikou and Waz are not to be beaten in the mirror.
Yeah, Waz actually shadow stepping over, getting that sap on TSX now. A nice opener coming in from Method. Raikou taking quite a bit of damage as well. Both mages getting cheap shot up. Raikou popping that Icy Veins. He wants to get aggressive very early on. Method needs to make something happen with that Icy Veins cooldown. TSX not taking any damage though.
Yeah, both these healers are playing very, very well right now. You can see their line of sighting behind the pillars. Waz pushing in, he's trying to get the blind over onto Radapai, but Radapai, of course, trying to premonition out into the kidney shot. But Raikou caught in the middle of the map, actually going to have to trade out Ice Block since TSX has landed the first polymorph. Very well played by Rockets.
Yeah, I really like this. Now TSX into the full cheap shot, though, getting bursted down very low. This could be his first Ice Block as well. Radapai trying to keep him alive with that Rapture cooldown. He's going to be able to spam out those Power Ward shields, and that should be enough to save him. TSX crowd controlling Waz up quite nicely, throwing out those polymorphs into the full Nova, locking out Raikou. This is nicely done by Rockets Esports. Akros is actually dropping that smoke bomb, denying any incoming heals. Another huge setup over on Raikou. He trinkets into the kidney shot, but Chaz not in any crowd control. Raikou should be completely fine.
Yeah, that was actually the smoke bomb coming out of Akro lols there, but Raikou not in the stuns, able to simply walk out of that one. We see Chaz trinketing the blind. There's the counter bomb over onto TXX. This could easily be his ice block. He should have to use it. Blinks away, greedy play. Can they get the polymorph off of that kidney shot? Should be able to, but another interrupt, even bold. PS looks like he's going to be able to hold this, and again, Rockets Esports able to hold on to these key defensive cooldowns. Radapai hasn't even trinketed yet.
Yeah, Acro and TSX doing an excellent job with their interrupts. One of them interrupting that Ring of Frost, one of them interrupting the polymorph, denying any crowd control on their healer. Radapai now into the full blind. He trinkets out immediately. Chaz into that full Ring of Frost. Raikou forced into that second ice block. He has no ice blocks right now. Rockets Esports looking very good. TSX now into his first ice block, but he still has one available, so that's going to be very important. Method's going to have to capitalize, but potentially taking advantage of the fact that he is on hypothermia. Maybe they can land a kill, but so far, Rockets Esports ahead.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, there's no defensive cooldowns left on Method. The next crowd control chain over onto Chaz may well be the life of Raikou. No ice blocks on him. We can see they're playing quite defensively. Chaz intelligently mind controlling TSX, trying to delay this next setup that's coming out of Acrolors. Can he get the kidney shot over onto Chaz? You see him posturing offensively. He wants to get crowd control over onto Radapai, but he's got to play so careful.
And TSX looking for that polymorph. If he can land that, it's going to be huge. Chaz into the cheap shot right now. If there's any follow-up, it looks like the fear is going to be coming in from Radapai. He pushes in. Fortunately, he gets polymorphed up. Who's going to take more damage? TSX gets off the Ebenwold. A lot of burst over on the Raikou, but nice temporal shield denying that incoming damage. Chaz still into that Ring of Frost. Radapai getting cheap shot up. He actually trinkets out of that cheap shot, I believe, so using that human racial to get out of the stun to maybe premonition the next incoming polymorph, stopping that. So I like what Radapai did there. Chaz getting locked out. He has that Archangel up, so big heals going out onto Raikou right now.
Yeah, that was a very important temporal shield. Raikou was in a 3v1 situation without any other defensive cooldowns. He had to preemptively use that. Now we can see another kidney over onto Chaz, though. No temporal shield on Raikou. Can they follow up with the polymorph? A good kick onto TSX should deny that. He should be able to get the premonition over on the sheep. Now Chaz, with that PvP trinket, might have to use it before the blind, but at the flip side, counter pressure onto TXX is going to force his second block, and now Method are actually pulling ahead.
Yeah, Method, you know, they have a lot of momentum in their favor right now. TXX getting lower and lower. Radapai has their Archangel and powered heals that should be able to keep them alive. Raikou just spamming out the polymorphs over onto Acro, trying to delay Rockets Esports go. So, you know, Waz with his Shadow Blades full blind over onto Chaz. Rockets Esports trying to make something happen. It looks like Chaz is actually just going to opt to sit that blind. He knows his team's completely fine. They have a lot of momentum. Trinkets out of the incoming polymorph. TXX has that Icy Veins up right now, trying to get aggressive, but he's getting lower and lower. No mages have any ice block right now. This is very deadly for both of these teams. Nice interrupt over onto Raikou. Both priests kind of playing near each other. Either one of them can land a fear. It's going to be huge. Just who's going to take that risk?
Yeah, that's the thing. Chaz actually landed the fear onto Radapai there and forced his PvP trinket. So now blind is available for Method. If they can set up cleanly with the full polymorph here into the blind, this will easily be the game. They just have to get it. Can Waz connect that crowd control? Method are so close to winning this game. You see, no ice blocks, no temporal shield on TSX. If they can just get that blind onto Radapai, they will win this one.
Yeah, another smoke bomb coming in from Acro, but Raikou just walks out of it, so no follow-up stun. Full blind over onto Radapai. This is it, the triple crowd control. Acros might have to trinket out of this polymorph to keep TSX alive. Trinkets out way too late. TSX potentially goes down and eventually does. Acro a little bit slow there, needed to trinket out of that crowd control to help out his team, but even if he did, it was potentially over. Anyways, Method to note with this matchup is both rogues have an ability called Blind, that blind is going to be what these priests really want to trinket. If they have to trinket anything but blind, they get caught in these really long CC chains that stem from blind. So watch out. That could be something in the match that definitely has an impact as well. Both rogues starting in stealth. Looks like Raiku's right on top of Rattapie, just spamming out those spell steals. This is a bit of an interesting start.
Yeah, this is kind of setting the scenes, both the rogues and stealth, so of course they can't really connect to each other. They're trying to sort each other out. If you can land that starter sap, that's going to be a great start to the game. As we see the full stun into the polymorph immediately on Chaz, pre-pain suppression stats, so well played by him, but Raiku's still going to be in a bit of trouble, and of course because they get the momentum at the start of this game, blind should be trinketed by Chaz. They haven't landed any CC onto Rattapie.
Yeah, Rattapie actually got feared into a full sap, but while Waz was going for that sap, Acros and TSX were able to go crazy, full blind over onto Rattapie right now. Trinket's out of that, so both priests, standard play coming in from them so far. Smoke bomb over onto Raikou. If they can get some big bursts, incoming Ebon Bolt. That's the first ice block from Raikou. Very important. Well done by Acros.
Yeah, it was also overlapped with the power ward barrier from Chaz, so a bit of miscommunication and a full ring of frost. This could easily be the game. Raikou will die here. Beautiful play coming out of Rockets Esports. Crazy how quickly they took that one, and once again, as we said in the last game, they were the team that had the momentum from the start, and here they were able...
like we talked about, the opener is going to be very key. Waz needs to make sure he is shutting down TSX as fast as possible.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really like about Method is these guys are the seasoned veterans. They should be able to identify what went wrong in the second game and adapt into the third one. So we can see sap over onto Raikou. That's actually a pretty bad opener for Method because it means he's in the start room. He's far away from Rattapie. Won't be able to get the crowd control. And I really like that life grip from Chaz. It puts Raikou into a much better position, prompting for that offensive crowd control. And he might actually land it here. Chaz able to deny all of that, so Waz doing a much better job also. But still, they are able to land the polymorph. TSX pulling off a miracle.
Yeah, Raikou using that Icy Veins early and getting it dispelled. Once again, Chaz into the full polymorph. This could be the first ice block from Raikou. Doing a good job cutting away another polymorph over onto Chaz. TSX looking to get aggressive as well. Full fear over onto Chaz. Raikou just line of sighting, doing the best he can, but needs to be careful here. Finally gets back over to Chaz. Chaz uses that Rapture, uses that Archangel. It's going to be big heals. Raikou's going to get easily topped off, and that wasn't too bad for Method. No team really forcing out too much in the opener.
No, not too bad after all. And we actually see a sap over onto Acrolos. Not entirely sure how Waz was able to land that. Probably he was posturing around in stealth, and now that's going to be crowd control over onto Rattapie. Kidney into the sap as well. TSX in trouble, caught in the middle of the map. Is he going to be able to land the polymorph onto Chaz though? Once again, TSX in a 3v1 situation, able to land that crowd control. Raikou though is the offensive mage at this point. The Ebon Bolt is not denied, but TSX is the one behind. He's going to have to pull back.
That was interesting. TSX actually casted that Ebon Bolt onto Waz right there. Typically the rogue isn't the target you want to be swapping onto. There was no stuns. I wonder if that was a little bit of a mistake because Raikou was in a good position for him to get some damage out. TSX locking out Raikou on that Arcane once again. Doesn't look like Rockets is going to be able to capitalize. Kidney shot over onto Rattapie. Ring of Frost onto Acros. Polymorph onto Rattapie. TSX in a 3v1 situation, but the pain suppression coming in from Rattapie is going to be denying any of that incoming damage. So very well done. Chaz pushes in though, gets the full fear over onto Rattapie, but still TSX just, there's no follow-up damage from Method.
Yeah, and another beautiful polymorph over onto Chaz. This could be Method being forced into that first ice block. The pre-temporal shield will not be enough. Raikou having to trade out that cooldown, and TSX has really been on fire this tournament, not just this series. He's landing those polymorphs onto the healers in these difficult situations, and now you can see he's controlling Waz, he's max ranging, he's still posturing for crowd control on Chaz though, very close positioned. I'd like to see Chaz push away, go behind the pillar, and just avoid TSX at this point.
Yeah, full blind over onto Rattapie. Kidney shot on Acros. Looks like they're trying to put a little bit of damage over onto him, but he doesn't take any. Rattapie trinkets out of that blind. Interrupt on TSX. Once again, Method just no damage. They're getting this crowd control, but there's no follow-up. Right now, Rockets Esports doing a good job avoiding that. Raikou now getting bursted down a little bit. Chaz trinketing out of that blind. I think it was a Ring of Frost as well, but that's a smoke bomb. Raikou once again caught into that smoke bomb. Get kicked on Poly. Unfortunately, into that second ice block, and now Rockets Esports once again way ahead.
Yeah, the smoke bomb wasn't that great, but Raikou had to blink in the opposite direction as we see TSX trading back his ice block. This catch should be dangerous if they can get the Master Spell, but you see Acro Lols knows his priority, able to stop that for the short amount of time. Now the fake cast coming out, they're able to get it. Might be the game. TSX goes down. Beautiful play from Chaz. He fake casted the kick at the end of that one. Acro Lols was looking to stop it, but he could not.
That was such nice timing from Raikou as well, getting that key Ebon Bolt off the second that ice block came off.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, like we talk a lot about Method because obviously they're a big name, big brand, but Rockets Esports have been a team that have really performed on online competition, and they're hungry too. G2. They had a bad performance at Gamescom last year. They were the #1 seed coming in, and they were eliminated first, right? So these guys really have a lot of proof. They've obviously got Vilay on their team sitting in the back as well. He brings a lot of experience to the roster. So they need to get through this online competition so they can prove themselves again at the live event.
Yeah, full kidney shot over onto Chaz. Is there going to be any follow-up? There is. The full fear. Looks like Raikou once again taking the worst end of this opener. Icy Veins has been popped, but he might be forced into a very defensive position. First Ice Block may come in, but the Rapture spam coming in from Chaz should be able to keep him alive, but he gets caught into that full polymorph. Sap over onto Rattapie. In the meantime, first Ice Block on Raikou. Can Waz force it over onto TSS? It does not look like it. So once again, Method a little bit behind at the start.
Yeah, and it's the difference in playstyles. Waz is trying to be the playmaker on Method, wherever it's TSX on Rockets Esports. You see Waz constantly going for these saps over onto Rattapie out of the kidney, whereas Acrolaws is just tunneling down Raikou and letting TSX make the big plays on Chaz. We can see the trinket on the blind there coming out of Chaz. Polymorph on both sides, actually. Raikou one Ice Block down. Could be in trouble if they can get the connection. Both mages trading out Temporal Shield. Very even, but Method are behind down an Ice Block.
Nice smoke bomb once again coming in from Acro. Raikou getting low. The Ebon Bolt's being cast over by TSX. Can he connect it? He does. Big burst over onto Raikou, but TSX, or Raikou, pardon me, spamming out those polymorphs onto Acros, denying a lot of that incoming damage. Rattapie once again into the kidney shot as well as Chaz. Witchmate is going to get the follow-up. Looks like Rattapie is going to use that pain suppression, so TSX should be completely fine. Raikou still in a decent spot right now with that cheap shot over on TSX. Big burst coming in from Method. First Ice Block is going to be forced down and gets MD'd once again with the fear over onto Rattapie. Light's Wrath being cast out against CS though. TSX needs to survive just a little bit longer. Full Nova onto Waz. That is a nice mind control coming in from Chaz, but TSX still just needs to get healed up from Rattapie a little bit. I think the Rapture, the Archangel, that should be enough to keep him alive, but Rockets Esports needs to turn this around.
That was actually a little unfortunate. I mean, he mind controlled because he was locked on Holy, so he couldn't premonition the polymorph, but it actually mind controlled the Ebon Bolt damage coming out, which could have been lethal from Raikou, so a little bit unfortunate for Method, but they are turning the tides in this one. To see full polymorph, it's premonition though by Rattapie. That is a huge game changer. That could be a pivotal moment in this one, as TSX now should be fine to push offensive, try get some crowd control over onto Chaz.
Yeah, that's a full kidney shot on Chaz. At any point, he could use that pain suppression, opting not to use it. Raikou is just trying to avoid as much damage as possible while his healer is crowd controls, but he caught into the cheap shot. TSX connecting some damage, but Chaz, once again, has that Rapture. It's a key cooldown for the Priest. It allows him to just spam out that Power Word shield over and over. Normally, your teammate is completely fine when you're able to do that.
Yeah, and we can see good crowd control chain coming out of Method here. They're actually swapping up over onto Acrolaws because TSX kited to the max range now. Waz back over onto him, forces the trinket. They have the fear off this polymorph, so this could be another Ice Block if Chaz can land that. There's the full fear counterspell on TSX. This should be the second Ice Block coming out here. If they can land that Master Spell, it could be the game. We see defensive blind coming out onto Raikou. They know they're in desperation. Rockets Esports are one game away from elimination here, and they're falling further and further behind.
Oh, swap over onto Waz. That evasion is going to completely deny that, though. Waz looking to get offensive with the kidney shot. TSX goes down just in that kidney shot. So nice job by Method in that matchup, winning this series 3-1.
You know, they drop one, but overall Method looking close this first game out quickly.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see the talent choices here. If Looney opts to go for that Incarnation Tree of Life once again, which we did see from him yesterday. Could be good against a team like Reformed. One thing to note as well is Zeepai on that Elemental Shaman, he is actually a dwarf, and that is super effective against a Feral.
Yeah, it's really important because he can use that Stone Form, of course, to remove all bleeds from the Feral Druid. Very useful trade for the Incarnation. Also noteworthy that we have the Relentless Talent on Looney. This is something you'll see most top-tier healers playing, as we see Warwick's dropping very low at the start of this one, has to trade out that Unending Resolve. He might have to gateway back to his healer as well. Looney playing that Tree of Life to counter the Incarnation of Flappers. This is still not enough healing though. Ironbark just about going to top off Warwick. Should be okay now.
And keep in mind, Dizio has not used that True Shot Aura, so they still have that available. Walrus trying to get a pet out. Looks like he is going to finally be able to maim over onto Looney. He's playing Relentless, so if he gets caught into the full trap, Walrus could be in big trouble. He's line of sighting right now. That's a trap over onto
beautiful.
Looney. Oh, actually, Zeepai actually ended up eating that trap, so that was perfect. That was very important for them to stay alive. But the fear, Walrus still in a lot of trouble. True Shot Aura has just faded, so for now, XRB has sort of weathered the storm. Walrus just needs to get topped off, but as that Demonology Warlock, as he gets lower, he becomes more tanky. But the bash over onto Looney, big bite over onto Walrick, Flappers as well as Dizio looking to seal the deal and take down Walrus with that full Wyvern Sting over onto Looney. Walrus gets topped off though. Zeepai just tossing in those heals when he can to keep him alive. alive.
That topping off was the Healthstone, by the way, from Rorik. That means he held that throughout the entirety of that offensive onslaught. He's basically like toying with them. At the same time, we saw Zipa and Looney. We know how close they are. They were really close to eat that trap. So XRB trading out cooldowns, able to survive the Incarnation and the True Shot Aura. Now they need to get offensive. You can see the mana on Railsar down to about 30%. He was doing a lot of purges during that period. We can see XRB, if they can just keep Warwick stable for the next few minutes, they will run down that blue bar and they will win the game.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. Reform has to play hyper-aggressive, but Walrix still could be in a lot of trouble. Down to 5% HP, the trap onto Looney. Walrix could just not get away. Reform goes all in. Relza completely tapped on mana. That is the strategy they needed to do, and they implemented it perfectly.
The crazy thing, too, I mean, one of the big things inside...
So XRB going for something slightly more risky, as we were saying. Looney on the Holy Paladin. You see, there's a lot of cooldowns on the left of your screen there. There's 2 Blessing of Protections, 2 Hand of Sacrifices, but that does not necessarily save him if Flappers decides to swap over, so it'll be interesting to see the target choice from the jungle.
Yeah, Reform just charging in on their mounts already all over XRB. Full bash over onto Looney. Rels is going to be trinketing out of that Hammer of Justice, so that's another thing Looney has, that Hammer of Justice. Waller's getting lower and lower with the fear over onto Looney. That Unending Resolve is going to be popped, as well as that Hellstone, so nicely done by Reform, getting a lot of defensives very early on.
Yep, we see the True Shot Aura from Dizio was able to force that. Warwick still needs to reconnect with Looney. We'll see, of course, the Divine Vapors coming out of him, trying to top off his Warlock here. Hasn't had to trade out anything too major, though. We see both the crowd control breaks, the Blessing Protection, all these cooldowns still available for Looney over there, but we need to see damage coming out. Relza's used about 80% mana right now, sitting on a healthy blue bar. This is the Incarnation. What can Flappers get done?
Yeah, we'll have to see. Looney now getting maimed up on his Avenging Wrath, so he is down to 50%. It looks like Reform trying to put some pressure over onto him, as he did use that Blessing of Sacrifice like we talked about, but Relza getting lower and lower as well. Zipai trying to counter pressure. Like I said, Flapper still has that Incarnation up for just a little bit longer. Dizio and Flappers trying to get some damage over onto Walrix, but he's just doing a good job on this large pillar, kiting gates away. Looney's into that trap, so well done kiting by Walrix in this game.
Yeah, well played by Looney, able to fake cast the interrupts, but needs to reconnect once again with his Warlock. I really like the kiting pattern coming out of Warwick here. He's able to line of sight Dizio, prevent a lot of that incoming damage, and of course Looney will use the Hand of Protection here, but that's in exchange for all the offensives. Now XRB can get offensive. Reels are down to 30% mana, his team rotting. As Benriku was saying, Zipai so frustrating to play against as that healer, and Warwick with the rot damage, making it so hard for the Discipline Priest.
Yeah, XRB has a lot more pressure in this game. Flappers cannot overextend. Relza was all the way on the other side of the map, needing to heal himself up, but it looks like Reform, they are going all in. They really don't have a choice in this matchup. Survival Instincts is going to be used by Flappers, reducing some of that incoming Elemental and Affliction Warlock damage. Stun over on Relza, he gets sheared up as well. Nice damage and crowd control coming in from Zipai, and now Reformed for the first time in the series playing completely defensive. Relza cannot top off his team. He does have that Archangel that's going to be able to increase his healing, finally going to be popping that, but Flapper's getting lower and lower. I don't know if Relza has it in him to keep his team stable enough for them to go offensive.
Yeah, and he's dropping lower on his blue bar as well. That means there's less healing coming out in the very near future. It has, to what it's worth, Zipai now the target of choice, so he can't interrupt him so much. He needs to be careful. Looney getting kicked, doesn't have the Hand of Sacrifice for a short while. The Astral Shift coming out barely in the nick of time, but still, once Zipai recovers here, we can see Stormkeeper connecting. There's the Sky Fury, lots of damage coming out. One crowd control onto Real Side. They're pushing for the Hammer of Justice.
Yeah, Looney just needs to hold on a little bit longer. He has that Blessing of Sacrifice coming up. Relza almost completely tapped on mana, but Zipai could still be in a lot of trouble. Maim over on Looney, but Looney does have that bubble. Sacrifice has been used. If Reform can live just a little bit longer, this is True Shot Aura. They might be able to shred through these defensives, take down Zipai, Dizio, and Flappers charging in. Zipai down to 50% HP. Looney uses that bubble, uses the Blessing of Protection as well. So XRB basically has no defensives left, but I think Reformed has run out of time. Relza dispelling himself with that UA silence. Actually 0 mana. You cannot see any mana that he has. He gets fully hodged up. Relza survives this. It is a true miracle.
Yeah, he's been interrupted on both his calls. He gets the shield out with the Archangel, but it's surely not going to be enough. He's desperately kiting away. Actually, with the Rapture and those spam Power Word shields going to provide him a little bit of mana as well. Might be able to stabilize here. And as we said, no cooldowns on XRB, so Zipai needs to be careful. Full trap over onto Looney. No heals coming out of the Avenging Wrath. He gates away, but he's still in trouble. If Flappers reconnects, Zipai will fall.
What is going on?
Somehow, some way, take that game.
Relza, like I said, a true miracle. Reformed 2-0 in the series. I cannot believe it. That is what...
and take the entire series.
Yeah, one of the things we saw from XRB last game was their pressure they put onto Relza. I really want to see Looney basically getting those Hammer of Justice on cooldown if you can onto Relza. It's going to give Walrus and Zeepai an opportunity to sort of rot down the enemy team, force Relza into a defensive position, but Reform does not want that. They're going to push in hyper-aggressive once again. Zeepai already using that Stormkeeper, so trying to get really, really aggressive, trying to counter-pressure Reform, but I don't know if it's going to work against the Jungle Cleave.
Yeah, and we actually saw no offensive cooldowns coming out of Reform there. They still have that True Shot, still have the Incarnation on Flappers, and they got the PvP trinket out of Looney, so already a fairly significant cooldown. I think it might have just been the human racial, but still. And we can see, obviously, the strategy. They already figured out that hitting Zeepai was good last game. Now they're going to start with that DR trap over onto Looney. Zeepai in trouble, the fear to follow it up. That's going to have to be another break, maybe even the Divine Shield, but Astral Shift comes out instead. That's before the Incarnation on Flappers, so it could be huge for Reformed.
Yep, Maim onto Looney. Zeepai still in a lot of trouble. It gets lower and lower. Bursting shot. Zeepai gonna go down. 2% HP. The sacrifice comes in. That's gonna be redirecting 100% of damage to the Paladin. So anytime you see that, Zeepai should be completely fine. But now they swap over onto Looney if they can get the bubble as well. But that Avenging Wrath is going to be increasing his healing, hopefully keeping him alive for XRB. Flapper's Incarnation has been used. It's still up though. If he can get those bleeds up, Zeepai could still be in a lot of trouble. That's a full bash into a full trap, into a fear. Unfortunately, Looney has to use his Divine Protection as well. He has not a single defensive cooldown left. Reform just needs to be able to stabilize a little longer. If they can push through, land one more CC chain onto Looney, that is going to be game.
Yeah, and Realzar was so clutch there. He was able to get the Hand of Protection off immediately. Therefore, Looney had to use Divine Shield. They have nothing left. The mana pool still 30%, so definitely still something in the tank for Reform. Not looking as bad as last game, just because they found the right strategy from the start of this one. Zeepai now, no Astral Shift for about 30 seconds. That's the win condition for these guys. Maim onto Looney. If they can get the trap, they will secure this game.
Yeah, Wyvern Sting onto Looney. Zeepai getting lower and lower. He gates away. If Looney can reconnect, this is going to be very good. Flappers chasing him down, trying to stop some of these healing surges, trying to keep up this damage. Full bash. Walrus gates away as well, trying to get these fears, trying to peel up the enemy team to keep Zeepai alive. But the mind control on Looney should seal the deal. Zeepai goes down. Reform pulls it off. 3-0 against our favorites, XRB.
That was just beautifully played by Reform, too. That's a difficult map to be EU. Let's open up these gates.
This is a classics. XRB to the moon running that Lock Shaman Druid, and then Method running that RMP. Raiku's playing Arcane. We have Waz on the Assassination Rogue. This is a matchup we saw earlier in the tournament. We saw XRB to the moon. They actually ended up beating ABC, so we'll have to see if Method can perform just a little bit better. I'm interested to see how it plays out. We got Cheap Shot Polymorph over on Looney. This is a good start for Method as Zeepai gates away immediately, but Waz chasing him down, lands the kidney shot. Zeepai has to trinket out, and Waz actually playing Death from Above to increase his mobility a little bit there. He gets knocked away, uses that DFA to reconnect. I really like that talent choice.
Yeah, I really like it as well. And if you're going to bet on some people playing Rogue Mage to beat a Lock Shaman Druid of this caliber, it's going to be Raikou and Waz. These are the ultimate aggressive DPS when it comes to tunneling down someone like Zeepai. And let's see what they got in the opener. Astral Shift and the trinket from Zeepai are down, as is the trinket from Looney. This could potentially be a very good opener. We're watching for the Iron Bark from Looney. When's he going to put that out? You can see he's out of crowd control right now, able to just pre-heal through the damage. They tried to bait out the Iron Bark there, I feel like. They weren't able to do it, so Looney holding on to that could be huge.
This is a key opportunity for Method Raikou. He does have that arcane power, and like you mentioned, Looney has no trinket. If they land crowd control on Looney, put some big burst on Zeepai with that arcane power, they can absolutely win this game. There's the kidney shot in caster on Looney. Can Raikou push in and get any follow-up crowd control? Chaz looking to push in for that fear, but Looney displaces away. Mind control over onto Zeepai. Zeepai should be completely fine. Looney able to get away, tossing those heals on him. That was the arcane power from Raikou, and Looney did not even have to use that Iron Bark as a response.
Yeah, I think that was actually a huge play from Warwick that saved them there. It was the Infernal stun on the Polymorph from Raikou, because of course Zeepai was caught up in that stun as well, so he was the only player that could save them. So Warwick coming out MVP once again for XRB. Now, look at the stability. We see the Astral Shift for Zeepai is back up. Trinkets are still down. They have one more opportunity on Method to try get the crowd control, but XRB, they've survived the biggest onslaught.
Yeah, Walrus playing defense for his team is so key, and if you're going to have a Warlock play defense for you, you want it to be Walrus coming in clutch with those CSs, with those fears, with the Infernal stuns, like you said. Zeepai kiting away while trying to reconnect, but he's getting feared up by Walrus. Zeepai doing a good job. This is what we talked about yesterday. He runs through Walrus, forcing Waz into the middle of the map. which allows Walrix time to get that crowd control out, and that's imperative for him to survive. Waz trinkets out, lands the full kidney shot onto Zeepai. Raikou channeling those arcane missiles. Penance coming in from Chaz. They're just trying to kill him with no crowd control on Looney. They are able to force out that Iron Bark. Looney uses that as a response to that incoming damage, to that vendetta coming in from Waz, and I think that's a fair trade. XRB looking good in this situation right now. Method just cannot land that crowd control they need onto Looney, and just trying to basically out pressure and out damage XRB in this game. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, that was a very efficient trade for XRB. Definitely not a bad thing trading out the Iron Bark for the Vendetta there, because they absolutely can go through crowd control. We see Looney sitting down for a juicy little drink there, up to 80% mana. He knows that this could potentially be a long one, and he needs to be able to keep the juice so that he can keep Zeepai alive. We see Zeepai caught in a kind of awkward position here, but the counter pressure with the Fel Lord coming out of Warwick to counter that arcane power. I wouldn't be surprised to see, yes, there's the Astral Shift from Zeepai. Once again, trading that defensive damage reduction for the offensive cooldown on Method, and these effective trades are definitely paying dividends for XRB.
Yeah, another key thing to note about Method Raikou, he's playing that Kleptomania talent, so at any point in this game, he can use his spell steal. In the meantime, Raikou getting bursted down.
Oh!
What was that? That had to be a Thalkill. That had to be a Thalkill. Good night, Raikou. XRB finding that burst opportunity that they needed, taking the first game.
Oh my!
But slightly more secure investment when it comes to sitting down for a drink. So Looney definitely ahead of the game on that one. Warwick and Zeepai. I really want you guys to watch their positioning during this game, because it's something that's true no matter what the matchup. When Warwick is targeted, he'll normally sit back near Looney. They'll kite around pillars, and Zeepai will be in the middle disrupting healers. In this game, Zeepai is the key kill target for Method. Therefore, Warwick is the one sitting in the middle of the map, spamming those disruptive fears and counter spells over onto Raikou.
Yeah, there's the cheap shot over onto Looney into a polymorph. Nicely done by Raikou once again. The spell lock coming in a little bit too late, but Walrix does manage to lock him out on Arcane, so not too much damage, but Waz has basically popped everything. He's trying to pressure down Zeepai. The follow-up zap, nicely done by Waz. Zeepai getting lower and lower. That was his Astral Shift. Is Looney going to have to trinket out of that blind? He does. Trinket and Iron Bark. Basically everything has been committed by XRB at this point. This is a beautiful opener for Method.
Yeah, it really is. They had a great start there, getting the Iron Bark, getting the Astral Shift. That's all the damage reduction cooldowns, honestly, and we still see, of course, Arcane Power and Vendetta were committed there, but because they're stacking in the room, it's really easy for Waz, even as that Assassination Rogue, to get the kidneys over onto Looney and actually help out Raikou getting crowd control. But you see Raikou sitting back right now. He can't afford to stand in the middle with Rurix having that offensive positioning, because he could get hit by that big Thalkill.
Yeah, he's scared this game, and you can tell at any moment, you know, Zeepai and Walrix can come in. Walrix with that Thalkill's consumption, Zeepai with a whole bunch of Lava Burst procs, as you can see them shooting out right now. It's unexpected damage. That is a giant win condition for XRB. At any moment, they can get these procs, get these big bolts out, and take Method down. We've seen it in countless games before. Kidney shot over onto Zeepai. Looney not in any crowd control whatsoever, so he should be able to just toss out those healing touches in a very safe position. Raikou getting locked out, so not too much follow-up damage from that Arcane Mage as well. If Walrix and Zeepai can shut down the Arcane Missiles of Raikou, it's going to be difficult to really get out that pressure. Luckily, Waz is doing a good job on that Assassination Rogue. He's just got his Vendetta up, so this is a kill opportunity for Method. With that offensive cooldown, Zeepai has the Astral Shift in response if he needs it.
Yeah, constant intelligent positioning though. We see Zeepai moving towards the gate side of the map so that he can kite away from Waz if the Vendetta is committed. At the same time, we see damage coming out, forcing out the Rapture on Chaz, who is dropping a little bit of mana, but honestly, not too much doing, because Raikou is positioning himself so intelligently. Look, he's behind the pillar. He's still able to build up his procs on the pets behind the pillar with those arcane explosions, but he's also avoiding all damage from Zeepai and Warwick, and Waz isn't a great target either because of the feint.
Yeah, outside of the opener, Method really hasn't put any sort of pressure onto Looney. He's sitting down for a drink. He does not want to run out of mana. Zeepai kiting around, buying Looney the time he needs to get that drink. So I don't know what Method's game plan is here. Do they want to push in? Do they want to get aggressive? Do they want to get that crowd control? Or are they just waiting? Are they waiting for the miracle procs? Zeepai now getting a little bit lower, but Looney forced to trinket out of that blind. Vendetta has been committed as well. Zeepai getting a whole bunch of healing from Looney, but Waz with the Shadow Step kick once again. Nice response by Looney, tossing a bash on him, getting feared up as well by Walrix. Waz getting lower and lower. He does have the Cloak of Shadows. He has basically everything. Waz in this matchup is going to be very safe. Hex onto Chaz. Nice crowd control coming in from Zeepai as he is getting trained down. Ice Fury being cast out. He gets kicked though, so not going to be able to get out that additional burst, and it's kind of a stalemate at this point. Doesn't look like Method really wants to push in and overcommit outside of when they have that Vendetta up. Raikou getting a little bit lower. He does blink out of line of sight. Chaz able to spam out those Shadow Men. He's going to be fine for now, but yeah, I'm curious to see how Method plans to win this game.
Yeah, it's looking worse and worse for them, actually. Warwick's able to push in right now, uses the Fell Lord on Chaz, going to force out the Trinket and the Power Ward barrier there. But honestly, like you say, it's really hard for them to get offensive crowd control over onto Looney because he's playing so far away. But now that XRB are pushing up, they might get the opportunity. You can see Zeepai does have the Astral Shift and the Trinket, though, so that's why they feel enabled to play this offensive playstyle. Chaz at some point is going to be looking for a drink, which is something you can actually do against the Demonology Warlock because the pet has to be on Raikou to deny incoming crowd control and damage. So that's why they're pushing in, because they need to actively stop that drink so they can burn down Method in the long game.
Yeah, XRB is feeling very comfortable in this matchup right now. You can see Walrix pushing in, trying to get some damage over onto Chaz. He trinkets out of that stun. Kidney shot onto Zeepai. A lot of damage connecting from Method right now. Looney responds with the Iron Bark. Zeepai positioning himself, trying to line of sight some of that incoming offensive dispels, as well as any incoming damage from Raikou. Zeepai leaps away. His kiting has been on point this game. That is going to be the Vendetta once again, and Method not able to get too much done with that, not able to pull out that Astral Shift whatsoever. So maybe I'd like to see Method hit multiple targets if they're planning the strategy. If they're planning to just kind of Looney in this matchup, maybe they need to put some pressure on Walrix as well, so Looney has to multi-dot. Like, it's something that Chaz and Raikou can definitely do. If Waz is, throwing off one of those daggers and getting poisons on Walrix, it becomes difficult for Looney to heal multiple targets. So maybe they could go for a cleave strategy, but Method struggling to find their footing in this matchup at this point in the game.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, I hate to use the term, but that was kind of a YOLO setup coming out of Method there. They used the Arcane Power and the Vendetta when Looney was in no crowd control, only got the Iron Bark for that exchange. You can see it's coming back up again now. So once again, Method just wearing down the clock, which is not advantageous to them unless they can get one of these kind of random swaps. I would like to see maybe a blind over onto Looney into some sort of attempt to swap over to him. It's something that we've seen the Rogue Mages doing when they can not get a clean setup onto Zeepai or any of the DPS, to be honest. You can see Raikou throwing out a bit of damage onto Warwick, but once again the spell lock just to deny any of those procs from the arcane missiles.
Yeah, Walrix has been doing a good job shutting down Raikou with those counter spells. A blind onto Looney, and Looney just decided not to trinket this time, so he did not trade out the trinket. Looney just opting to sit. He hasn't really had to use his trinket on anything else in this game. We'll have to see. Maybe that's an opportunity. If Method can land some crowd control on Looney, forcing him to trinket without that blind, that is definitely a win condition for them later on in the game. Once again, Vendetta is going to be used, and it looks like Method is just doing damage on cooldown. You see Vendetta's up, press it. You see Arcane Power's up, press it. Raiku's being a little bit more patient right now. He gets Axe tossed into the Shear, into the Axe toss. Nice burst coming in from Walrus. That's a nice setup. Zeepai getting kicked, but once again, the Vendetta really not accomplishing too much except getting the Iron Bark, which isn't necessarily the best trade for Method.
Yeah, that was a nice setup damage.
Whoa.
You can see the Thalkiels coming out from Warwick. He was trying to land that one for quite some time, going to force out that Ice Block. 5-minute cooldown, don't you forget, for the Arcane Mage, so that's probably not going to be up again this game. Chaz down to about 30% on the mana pool, but because dampening stacking, that also gives Method a higher chance to win the game. We can see actually counter spells going over onto Chaz now. Warwick really getting he's feeling very confident in himself in this game, but they do need to be careful. Astral Shift was forced on Zeepai there, and you can see that while Arcane Power was used, we still have the Vendetta coming up shortly, so if they can get the crowd control over onto Looney, Method definitely still have ways of getting back into this one.
Yeah, here's the Stormkeeper. Zeepai trying to get that off. He gets interrupted. Nicely done by Waz. But like you said, as dampening gets higher and higher, this single target healing and pressure is going to be much more difficult for Looney to sort of deal with in this situation. We got 15% dampening almost. Walrus getting locked out there. Zeepai still playing very aggressive. At the beginning of the game, it felt like he really respected the incoming damage and setups from Method, but now playing super aggressive when he can, on top of them, trying to get that pressure, trying to get that momentum rolling, and once again, Looney sits down for a drink. He is at 100% mana. If XRB plays defensively properly, they have this game in the bag, as Chaz basically has no opportunity to drink. Cheap shot over on Looney. He pre-Iron Barks Zeepai, though. That's very important. That's a good trade for that Vendetta coming in from Waz. Zeepai just, he's hovering around 50% HP. A blind over on Looney. He actually breaks, so he didn't have to trinket out of that. Once again, DR Fear comes in. Method making a little bit of a mistake there with that CC chain. That blind is such a long cooldown that you can't afford to waste it. Zeepai still kiting away. The Arcane Mage Assassination Rogue damage might be too much for Looney to handle. Looney's just spamming out those heals over and over. Arcane Barrage connects once again. Zeepai hovering in a very dangerous position right now. If Raikou can get some missiles channeled, she does right now. Zeepai luckily manages to get behind the pillar. Looney able to get some heals off. finally, Waz getting bashed behind the pillar as well. Opts to trinket out of that.
Yeah, that was a scary play there for XRB, despite the blind breaking to the arcane power, or the arcane explosion coming out there from Raikou. But Zeepai does have the Astral Shift available, but no PvP trinket, so this arcane power, he should be able to respect it after the stun. Yes, there we see Astral Shift, 40% damage reduction on that Shaman, so shouldn't be dropping too much lower at this point. Looney, because of those invested drinks, does have a good blue bar to keep his elemental Shaman alive, whereas Chaz, he's really struggling, doesn't have the Archangel or the Rapture right now for those big heals, and that means that his team's struggling to stay offensive. We can see no Cloak of Shadows on Waz, able to spam out the fears. Chaz himself dropping low, even though he feels he has to try and pressure Looney with the fears to help his team get this offensive kind of like attempt to get the kill on Zeepai, which with dampening is still very realistic.
Yeah, Zeepai could be in a lot of trouble right now. The Thorns as well as the Iron Bark out. Nice kick coming in from Waz. Waz getting lower and lower, though. Chaz really having a difficult time stabilizing his team's HP. Walrus is doing work, rotting down everyone, as well as Zeepai. So Method might not have too much time left, but mana, you know, it's getting relatively stable. Looney has expended a lot of mana to keep the Zeepai alive through this single target pressure as dampening gets higher and higher. Like I said, this Restoration Druid is going to struggle. Method does have opportunities, but a big burst over on Raikou. No Ice Block available. And a nice Vortex there by Looney, forcing Raikou back into some of that burst damage, but Raikou manages to escape on that Arcane Mage. Full Cyclone over onto Waz into a full bash. He trinkets out, wants to keep up that feint, making it a little bit easier for Chaz to keep him alive, but Chaz just cannot get the heals on Raikou. Raikou gets locked out. Zeepai can find some damage here. Raikou could absolutely go down. That's a full fear onto Chaz. Raikou in a lot of trouble. He blinks into the middle of the map right now. Walrix has all his demons attacking him. Zeepai uses that Astral Shift, trying to prevent some of this damage. Dalkeels is about to connect, and that's it. Raikou once again goes down. Look at how close he was on that Ice Block.
I have a few questions just about how Method actually decided to play that game. I mean, we know XRB, if they can take their first game off of XRB to the moon.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they play this one, but like Zico said a little bit earlier on in the day, Waz likes to be the aggressor. He likes to be in their face. As Arcane Assassination, it didn't seem like they could make that happen, so I like this change. I want to see them all over XRB, trying to get that crowd control, trying to force them defensive. You can see Waz looking for that Restoration Druid. Looney is nowhere close, though. Good positioning from Looney to not get that initial sap. Waz still looking, though. Full sheep over onto Zeepai. Cheap shot onto Walrus. So it looks like he is the target of choice for Method very early on. Looney comes out of stealth, tosses out those heals. Now a big swap over onto Zeepai as well. The full blind onto Looney. Is he going to trinket out of that? That's a full kidney shot onto Zeepai. Looney trinkets as a response. Dark Archangel has not been used. So Raikou still has the Icy Veins. Chaz still has the Dark Archangel. Method still has a lot to put Zeepai away.
I think that was actually a little bit of like miscommunication on the side of Method. I mean, let's not forget, XRB doesn't actually know that Chaz is playing Dark Archangel. Just because we say it doesn't mean they do. So they won't know that by Raikou taking some damage, forced into the Ice Block. They need to go soon. They're looking for a fast game here. They need to get this one shot with the Icy Veins, with the Dark Archangel. That's what they're playing for, but Waz already committed the Smoke Bomb, so it's going to be a question of whether they can get the stuns set up correctly. Looney has no trinket. Zeepai has no trinket, so if they can get this instant damage with the crowd control, they can easily take this one. Here it is, the all-in, the Dark Archangel, Icy Veins. No crowd control on Looney, though, and the Iron Bark to answer should keep Zeepai alive.
Yeah, and Zeepai still has that Astral Shift, and unfortunately for Method, Chaz using that Dark Archangel, it's going to be very difficult for him to heal through some of this damage a little bit later on in the game. Zeepai still low, though. If they can get any CC on Looney, Zeepai could go down. Actually, Hellstone's there. Kidney shot onto Looney. Raikou follows it up with a sheep. Nice CC coming in, but Zeepai doing a great job kiting in that Ghost Wolf. He gates away. Raikou not going to be able to connect any damage, and it looks like Zeepai is going to be able to handle Waz quite easily.
Yep, they've lost the offensive cooldowns, but they've also lost the surprise factor of that Dark Archangel. Now XRB know what they're up against. They know they just need to play that extra bit more safe because, of course, you give up your light Archangel in response for that, which is a lot less healing on Chaz. So he will struggle to keep the long game going. XRB will know that and know that it's an advantage for them. On the flip side, though, the Frost Mage is doing a lot more damage. Like Zico said, more of a comfort pick for Raikou, and that's been weighing away at Looney's mana bar. He's down to 50% already, so he's going to be looking for drinks in this game.
Yeah, let's see if Method has any opening. Looney still doesn't have a trinket for a little while longer. Zeepai doesn't have a trinket for a little while longer. They could make something happen, but they have to go right now. And in the meantime, Raikou caught in the middle of the map, forced into that second Ice Block, comes out of it, gets Vortex back, having to use both of his blinks. He can't go anywhere at this point in the game. He does not have that same mobility as the Arcane Mage is getting feared up. Meanwhile, Zeepai teeing off on him, full blind onto Looney. They're trying to slow him down, trying to turn around the counter pressure, but Raikou just too low right now. Chaz throws out that pain suppression suppression. That should keep Raikou alive, but he has nothing left defensively, and Chaz's healing is going to suffer significantly because he does not have that light angel.
Yeah, he doesn't have the Archangel. He has to use out, gets wind sheared there, has to use the pain suppression in that exchange as well, so no real cooldowns, gets caught up in the fear, does have his trinkets shortly though, and we can see Raikou playing defensively, should be okay. Now, this is Waz, he's trying to be the playmaker, he gets the kidney shot over onto Looney, can they get the follow-up? Crowd control though, doesn't look like it. Raikou on literally the other side of the map, Chaz pushing in, trying to get the follow-up, Psychic Scream or Fear, but he's not able to get there in time. Waz, he tried to be the playmaker, but once again, he's lacking with his teammates, and Raikou caught up so much trouble, might just fall here.
Yeah, he gets gripped away though. Chaz brings it back behind the pillar. Looney pushes in, gets the bash, and Raikou goes down. XRB winning this series 3-0.
Making it look easy too, and all of a sudden they are going to the grand final. Formed looking to do it again the same way they entered at the top of this bracket. They haven't dropped a series yet. Guys, let's kick this one off. Best of 7.
Yeah, it looks like XRB is going back to their bread and butter. They are going to be playing that Demonology Warlock, the Elemental Shaman, and that Restoration Druid. In the first game, we saw this matchup, and it looked like Reformed really wanted to target down Walrix, putting as much pressure onto him as possible. A little Hex over onto Relza gets dispelled quite nicely, quite quickly by Flappers. True Shot Aura has been used. Looks like Reformed's looking to get aggressive, but a nice port coming in from Walrix. He gates away. As soon as Flappers gets there, he ports away, so nicely done. But Looney's still not out of the crowd control, and a lot of bursts going out onto Walrix. Unending Resolve is forced. This could be the Healthstone as well. Looney is playing Relentless this game, which is very key for him. All CC is going to be a little bit reduced. He is playing that Incarnation as well, so he should be able to keep Walrix alive, but really struggling at this point.
Yeah, it's the same talent choices, but it's kind of the same story as well. We did hold the Healthstone though, so that is a big cooldown for Walrix. It's going to be a big chaos. We see the Thalkios consumption! Almost takes down. It does take down Dizio. Crazy. I thought he was going to get out of that one, but Zeepai came in with the lava burst. So it's like this game actually looked the same as the ones we saw before, but then randomly out of the blue, the Stalkios able to like walk up. They have to go through the ramp. It's going to be a little bit slower. It's still the case that like maybe Dizio wants the space to play with. It's a quite open map, so it's quite nice for the marksman hunter. If Warwick and Looney do end up stacking, he'll be able to get easy crowd control over onto Looney. As we can see, they're pushing in aggressively, and actually Warwick starting down as he set up his gate, so before he can even set up his portal upstairs, and he's actually going to set it up behind line of sight, so that's a very interesting choice rather than using the Z access.
And that was a good start for XRB to the moon. Full Hex on Relza. Relza getting low, so XRB actually having a more favorable opener. That is the Archangel that's going to be coming out. Looney into the full trap right now. Walrix taking a little bit of burst damage, but he manages to survive. He's just out of line of sight. Dizio getting lower and lower. Nice pressure coming in from XRB. Zeepai doing an excellent job. This is the True Shot Aura though. Flapper's opting to use that Survival Instinct as well. He just wants to turn the pressure around. Dizio getting hit quite hard once again, down to 40% HP. Pain suppression has been connected, but Looney all in by Reformed. Can Looney survive? He needs to use potentially that Incarnation. He does, so he has the Bark Stain, he has the Incarnation, but he's still just dying through it. Iron Bark is forced out as well, but potentially too late. He's just going to be running around this pillar, trying to line of sight some of this marksmanship. Hunter damage manages to weather the storm, stay alive for now, but Reformed got everything from him.
They did get everything, yes, but they've been forced into a different strategy. They have to kill with this Incarnation. Here's the bash. They should have a DR stun to follow it up. Not quite, unfortunately. Warwick with the peels, and look at the crowd control coming out. Fear onto Flappers, Hex onto Railzar, denying that decurse, and Railzar is down to 30% mana. They've really all in here. They have to get the kill soon. Looney looking healthy. Flappers not looking healthy. Down behind the pillar, 10% health. Fear onto Railzar, into the stun. Flappers falls. Well played, XRB.
Just a completely different series than the first one that we saw. All of a sudden,
in my opinion, it's just a stacked roster. That's why, and they play together.
Never count out a jungle. That's the first rule in the NA. We're gonna have to see if Reformed can jump back in this matchup. XRB trying to be the kings of the EU.
Yeah, Reformed has to play aggressive once again. They cannot play scared. Bash over onto Looney. Zeepai taking a little bit of damage very early on. I like this opener. Very standard from jungle. Zeepai down to around 50% HP. He's going to be using that stone form as well, so that's going to remove all the initial bleeds, but still getting lower and lower. Walrix trying to counter pressure. He drops the Fell Lord. A lot of cleave pressure going out onto Reform, but they're all relatively stable. Relza throwing out those Power Ward shields. He has the Archangel up. Zeepai's Astral Shift is going to fade. Silence over onto Looney. Zeepai getting lower and lower. He's just sitting in this room. There's a huge dog pile right now. Dalkule's consumption goes out though. Dizio getting lower and lower. He's already trinketed out offensively. Gets caught into the stun. Relza keeps him alive with the pain suppression, with the rapture, so that is a lot of major defense. If you look at Relza's mana, it's already down to 40%.
Yeah, we've tried the Warlock, we've tried the Druid, now they try the Shaman. Zeepai able to survive though, despite any kiting. He didn't even stand, he just stand there, took the damage. Looney with the tree form to counter the Incarnation on. Flappers has been doing a phenomenal job throughout the series. Now we need to see the trap. What can they get done? Zeepai able to kite away though. He still hasn't used his gateway, just sitting behind the pillar on 100% health. This is looking worse and worse for Reformed. Reels are down to 20% mana. His team out of defensive cooldowns. Not long for this world.
Yeah, this is looking hopeless for Reform. They just can't find the damage. But Zeepai, you know, he's getting lower and lower. Triple Fear comes in from Relza. Very nicely done. This might be their last opportunity to win. Flappers into the stun, though, into a Fear, into another Fear. Walrick's doing everything he can to keep Zeepai alive. You can see Zeepai also just spamming out those heals. That's a full axe toss over onto Flappers. Full Fear onto Relza. And now Reform's in a lot of trouble. Bursting shot on the Looney. Full trap to follow it up. But where's Walrus? Where's Zeepai? They are kiting away. You can see Walrus in the room with Zeepai just spamming out those heals. Flappers and Dizio get in, though. Looney finally is able to reconnect. Relza might be able to find a Fear at some point. I think it's still on cooldown. Walrus gets feared up. That is his unending resolve. So that is a lot of potential damage reduction, as well as that Iron Bark. Actually, he just needs to survive a little longer, and they do, finally taking down Dizio. Reformer was kind of in a situation where they had no choice but to play aggressive. They couldn't pull back. They can't reset. You have to play it out.
There's just so much utility.
The road to establishing themselves as one of these in-depth European rosters. Relza and Dizio had a good performance last year, and they're hoping that they'll be able to pull back at least some face in this series.
Yep, this is match point. If XRB wins this game, they will be winning this tournament. Reformed needs to win in order to stay in it. Pounce over onto Walrus. It looks like he's going to be the target of choice for now. Looney, you know, not any crowd control on him. The positioning from XRB is very annoying for Reform to sort of get out that CC. Bash into trap onto Looney. Now Walrus using that unending resolve immediately, as this is Incarnation and True Shot aura. Looks like Reform wants to go all in. They want to get this pressure out. Walrus getting lower and lower. Uses the Hellstone as well. Looney throws out that Iron Bark. That should be enough to stabilize him, but Walrus still not getting topped off. Tree of Life has been used by Looney, and that is definitely enough to keep him alive, but Reform got a lot of cooldowns.
Yeah, they basically got everything once again. I think the Healthstone might still be available, but that's the last cooldown, and honestly, this is a very good game for Reformed. It's very similar to game one. They've just got to be careful that Warwick's does not global them. You can see Curse of Fragility is available right now. He's on Dizio. They have to use the aspect of the turtle, but they get the trap. They want to get aggressive. He cancels that to get aggro over onto Warwick, who is sitting behind the pillar right now. Flappers dropping low. Zeepai slowing him down, and they're line of sighting their healer right now. Railsa off picture, trying to get some heals desperately onto his team. Zeepai being such a nuisance in the corner of the screen, and no CC on Looney. They should be able to stabilize, and XRB looking very strong once again.
Yeah, Flappers all alone. He gets bashed into the clone. Reformed is looking not so good in this matchup. This positioning coming in from XRB is incredible. Flappers getting lower and lower. Bash over onto Looney, but there's no follow-up CC. Axe toss over onto Relza. Flapsar has nothing left. No trinket, no survival instincts. He's trying to kite away. He's trying to get some damage onto Walrix at the same time, but unfortunately, Walrix just ports away, and now Dizio in a position where he could go down. Hex into Fear onto Relza. Dizio at 10% HP, trying to kite, trying to line of sight. Cyclone onto Relza. The lava burst connects onto Dizio, and that's it. XRB closes it out.
XRB closes it out, and they are going to be your champions of the first EU Cup of the year, and they do it in incredible fashion. They just...
American teams, it means so much to them, and you can see the standings here. The teams at the top, XRB to the moon, they were phenomenal. They really got thrown down by Reformed, but the fact that they're such a world-class team means they're able to come back with a 4-0 sweep of the grand final. That's not an easy feat to do.